Happy New Year's Eve day. It's the prop queen, Ariel Epstein. We're going to take you to kickoff of, I think it's the first game in college football today, noon Eastern time, Iowa Vanderbilt in the Relia Quest Bowl. I hope you guys have done reflecting and have thought about all the things that you want to happen coming up in 2026. What I know is that I want to keep building prop queen and helping you guys make some money. I have a little bit of NBA for the early slate done that I'll get to in the prop queen edges at the end of the show. I have so many good friends who are going to come on today and help us out. I don't know much about hockey, and I know there's a big hockey slate. So Troy Perlowitz from NHL.com going to join the show in 7 minutes. Raheem Palmer, if you watch on The Ringer with me every Thursday on the Ringer Gambling Show, Raheem Palmer comes on with me and John Yashemsky every single week. He's crushing the NBA, so we're going to get his NBA thoughts for the big slate today. Last, certainly not least, one of my first friends in the business, in the gambling space, Sam Panayotovich. In fact, we have to bring up to him how he's probably the one responsible for introducing me to Kelly in Vegas. Actually, he is responsible for me and Kelly in Vegas. He's going to talk college football. We've got the bowl games starting in the afternoon. We've got the first college football playoff quarterfinal between Ohio State and Miami. That line's super fishy, so I'm going to see what Sammy has to say about tonight's game. That'll take us into the ball dropping. Tomorrow, huge slate of college football as well with all the college football playoffs. So I'm really excited to get Sammy's thoughts for the next couple of days. Is this my finale? Real Job 2026? This is my real job. I actually work harder at this than I did in a quote-unquote real job, to be honest with you. I was almost going to tweet out that today's show was going to be at 5, like my guest, Troy, at 11:10, Raheem at 11:30, and SP Shoot at 11:40 a.m., hockey, NBA, and college football. All right. First, I wanted to start the show off with saying thank you to everybody who may be tuning in today and who has tuned in all year. It's kind of crazy to think that this year, starting in like March, this show started. And to be completely honest, people told me that I couldn't do the show alone. People were saying, you need a co-host. Oh, we're not going to sign you. You need a co-host. What? I said, I'm not getting a co-host. It's just me. So I was like, I am going to start the show myself, and I am going to make sure that this thing is giving you the best information as possible. So very excited to get our guests on the show today. Rick Sorkin, why are you here to troll? I don't understand why you're trolling today. Like, we're starting the day off on a high note. It's the last day of the year. Why no recap on the losses? I have recapped the losses. I don't know what you're talking about. Okay. So everything is always in the newsletter, and everyone could see online as well. And yesterday, I didn't even give out any bets, so I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't have a good day on Monday, which I said. So I have given out on Pickett Sports my whole – yes, go to Pickett. Everything I've bet is there, Rick. Go to Pickett. Everything I've bet is there. It's all transparent. I don't understand why you think I'm not transparent. It literally – I've been up. If I bet $100 on everything, okay, so leave, Rick. You're wasting your time, bro. You're wasting your damn time. Okay, I'm not wasting my time on you. So let's get into today's slate. We've got a huge slate of hockey. We have a huge slate of the NBA. Is this what I'm wearing in the comments? That's what I wore last year. Someone commented on the picture I posted. So anyway, I wanted to say to everybody, thank you who has tuned into the show all year. This couldn't be as great as it is without you. And there's so many other tools that we're going to be posting on the Prop Queen website that's going to be able to help you guys make better bets. And that's including on the YouTube page. I actually posted it, so you can check out the YouTube page at Prop Queen Media, where you can go and see all the different how-tos on how to use Props.cash and how to use Pickett Sports. Super helpful tools. Pickett Sports is a way to track your bets, so you know what sports you're doing well in, what you're not. They've even told me position players that I have been struggling with betting or people I've been successful with. We are going to be muting. 1 second. Okay, never mind. So definitely wanted to make sure that you guys can use those how-tos, because Pickett's helping you track your bets, find the best lines in the market. And then you've got Props.cash, which I show you guys all the time on Props.cash, exactly what you guys could do to find the best bets that you possibly can, because props.cash is one of the most useful tools out there. And it's going to help you guys be able to find ways to find winners without having to really do all the work. It does a lot of the work for you over at props.cash. I use it all the time on the show. It's great for the NBA and figuring out how the hell to handicap on the injuries. There are so many injuries in the NBA today as well, and I'm curious what Raheem Palmer is going to have to say about that. I am trying to figure out, why doesn't it let me? I need to, okay. Anyway, I'm going to bring on this next guest. I want to hear what his thoughts are on today's hockey slate, and I know that he could tell us a lot of great winners that he's got on the board today. Let's bring on NHL.com's Troy Perlowitz joining the show. Happy almost New Year.
Happy New Year, Ariel. Thanks so much for having me on.
Oh my gosh, every single time that I have you on, I learn something new, and we have a big hockey slate. Before I get into your bets the bets that, or the props that you like today, it's day in the middle of the week. How does that factor into your research?
So a lot of our research and where we're looking for prop angles is really matchup dependent. So day of the week, kind of the time of the game, rarely does it impact who we think will score tonight but I will say there are a few, like the early slate games, 12:30. We have a game in Vegas. There's a 3 o'clock Eastern start, so noon local time start. We tend to look at the home teams because they have the advantage, right? They didn't travel the night before. So that could really impact something. But a lot of our prop angles are really matchup dependent. So you're looking at the opponent and you're looking at trends and stats that might be leading into the game rather than what time of the game starts or where they are in the schedule.
So you're not going to worry about the fact the New York Rangers are playing in the afternoon, that they could still score some goals.
I will say specifically to the Rangers, you might be looking at the Rangers and maybe looking at the under for that game just because the Rangers have the Winter Classic coming up on Friday. Maybe you're looking at a team that might be looking ahead to that tentpole event for the league, and maybe for lack of better words, maybe mailing it in for this one. The trends, though, for the Rangers have been pretty bad, as we talked about before. They're a team that really struggles to score, really struggles to generate really quality chances, and they're facing a really good team in Washington who has a really great goaltender in Logan Thompson and also a really good defense, and they're playing at home too. So there are, like you said, there's the early slate games. Some weird things tend to happen in early slate games. So maybe the Rangers catch one, and they did go to Washington last week and scored 7 goals. So again, we're looking at trends other than the time of the game that might be impactful in certain circumstances.
Let's start with this game at 3 p.m. Eastern time. Nashville Predators are at the Vegas Golden Knights. Vegas, decent favorite, -184, total 6.5. You're looking at Mark Stone. How come Mark Stone should have success against the Preds?
Well, I really like the value on that pick. Jack Eichel's missed the last couple of games, but he practiced yesterday in a regular jersey. He's going to come back. Jack Eichel's really impactful for Mark Stone because they play together on the power play. They're really good together. It's a great combo pick. If Jack Eichel's back in the lineup, Mark Stone has some really great underlying numbers against the Nashville Predators team that's been very up and down. Again, they've been kind of up lately, and I just don't think they're a really quality team. All the defensive metrics tell us that Nashville is really middle of the pack or bottom half of the league in terms of stopping goals. So I expect there to be a lot of goal scoring in that game. And if that's true, that a top 6 forward for the Vegas Golden Knights and Mark Stone, who we're used to Mark Stone battling injury issues. So to see his line mate and Jack Eichel be the one who's coming back, I just think he's such a great – Jack Eichel has so much speed, and Mark Stone's such a great playmaker. He's going to pick up assists for whoever he's playing with, whether it's Pavel Dorofeyev or Jack Eichel. So I really like Mark Stone and that value for 2 points tonight.
I like having some offensive production on the board for sure. Anaheim Ducks have been doing that. They're 21-16 to start the year, 3rd place of the Pacific right now. And right now, you could see Anaheim getting, they're plus 132 on the money line. Tampa Bay Lightning, road favorites. Lightning, always a tough test for any team. Which props would you be betting in this one?
Yeah, I'm really looking at the Lightning here. Anaheim, we talked about this too in my previous appearances with you. I love Anaheim. I love their story, but they've been super leaky defensively the last couple of games. It's not just the shot quantity that they allow. They allow a lot of high quality chances. Coaches call them loud chances. That's like shots from right in front of the net.
Scary.
Yeah, unoccupied players in the slot. That's the kind of chances lately that Anaheim has given up. So Tampa Bay, who's a really top-heavy team, I'm looking at them. They have really quality top six forwards. Jake Gensel, Nikita Kucherov, Brandon Hagel. I'll give you one name that I think sticks out too. It's a defenseman named Darren Radish, who not a lot of people know. Victor Hedman is a name that people probably are very familiar with Tampa, but he's missed a lot of the year. And he's going to miss. He'll be out of the lineup until at least February. Darren Radish has ascended into that role. He plays on the top power play. He has a booming slap shot. He has 16 shots that are he has 2 shots that are over 100 miles an hour, which is rare. That's the top 5 in the league. And 16 of his shots are over 90 miles an hour. So he's got a really great shot. I kind of think Anaheim's going to give up some, again, shot quality and shot quantity. And if you're looking at Tampa Bay as possibly scoring goals, look for a defenseman in Darren Radish because you probably can get some good value on that as well.
You can also get good value on anytime goal scorers. Does anyone stand out on the board to you for today?
Yeah, I'll give you one, and maybe it's not the great. I just talked about value, but Morgan Geekie is a name that I don't think many fans were familiar with prior to this year. He had never scored more than 20 goals in any calendar year of his career, and he's got 50 so far in 2025. So 2025 has been a great year for Morgan Geekie. He's a Canadian who really looks like I don't think he's going to make the Olympic team that's coming up in 2 months, but he's really pushing for it. 50 goals in any calendar year is pretty incredible. The Boston Bruins are in Edmonton tonight. It's the last game on the slate. I plus 195 for Geekie looks good to me. I just think Edmonton, I'd go over in that game. I think you're going to see a ton of goals because I love Edmonton's offense, especially lately. We all know about Connor McDavid. He's got that 13-game point streak entering tonight. But on the other side, I expect Boston to score some goals because Edmonton's really been also very leaky defensively. And if Boston's going to score, it's usually going to be Geekie.
I like that name. I just keep thinking that you're saying like a play on words, like it's geeky, like it's a saying that you would have. That's a hell of a name.
He's a really fun player. He's also, I mentioned shot speed with Radish. Geekie has the hardest shot attempt of any NHL player this season. So there's another reason just to say his name. Geekie shoots hard, which is just a great saying.
Geeky for geeky. I love it. I know Devils fans are disappointed because they got off to a decent start and now they're sitting in second to last place of the Metropolitan, and they're on the road at Columbus tonight. Columbus Blue Jackets minus 120. This game 7 p.m. Eastern time. This is a lower total at 5.5. Normally we're seeing 6.5. So how come this is such a lower total than normal?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't see it that way. I think that's a chance where you could. I see some goals being scored tonight. The Devils, if you caught it yesterday, Devils were shut out. Maybe that's why the Devils were shut out yesterday against the Toronto Maple Leafs, and their coach had some very choice words about his team, basically saying that they got to be tougher, but he said it in a little bit more eloquent way than that. So I really think
Marley's saying hello.
So I think the Devils are going to score tonight. I think that usually when coaches call out their teams, usually you see teams respond to that. So Jesper Bratt and Jack Hughes, who's back in the lineup after missing a couple of weeks with that finger injury, they're back and they're playing together. I really like the Devils to score goals. Columbus has a really great offense too. Adam Fantilli, Marchenko, that's a great combo as well on the other side. They're missing Zach Werenski, who's probably not going to play again tonight. Zach Werenski, an American Olympian that's probably going to be named into the lineup that's coming out soon this afternoon. So maybe that has Vegas thinking that the total is going to be a bit lower, but I kind of think goals are going to be scored. And I think you can look at the Devils as a team that has struggled a lot lately too, but they usually end up with a lot of shots on net. And I think you can see them going into Columbus tonight and probably winning that game.
Who would you focus on the most for shots on goal?
Yeah, I think Brad has 10 shots on goal in his last 2 games. That's a really big total. Again, playing with Hughes, you're probably going to be set up to shoot and then set up to score. I'd look at Jesper Bratt for at least over 2.5 shots on goal. That's good value for him. He leads the Devils in points. That's probably a little misnomer because Hughes has missed so much time. He's the one who's usually scoring goals for the Devils. But Bratt's a really good player. He shoots from everywhere too. He has 13 shots on goal from long range, which means like just inside the blue line. So he's, as a better, you're looking at players who could get shots from anywhere, not just inside. And he shoots from everywhere. So I look for Jesper Bratt there.
We're approaching the month of January. It's New Year's. We've got a month left until the Olympic break. Are you going to handicap or research the NHL any differently through January because the break's coming up?
For sure. That's a great question. I think I'm going to look differently. Yeah. I think teams really want to go into an extended break with some success, right? So I first of all, think GMs are going to, the rosters are going to freeze when we go into that Olympic break. So I think you're going to see some aggressive GMs maybe look to improve their teams in the trade market in this month. But I'll really look for teams. I like looking at trends in December. And kind of that's who teams really are, right? We've gone through the month of the season. Lines are kind of established. You're still trying to create chemistry. But I really start looking at trends in the month of December to carry us into January and beyond. So it's not that I'm forgetting the start of the season, but I kind of look at October and November, similar to the way you would look at the NFL, right? The teams are just kind of getting into their seasons. They're not really into what the routes are a little different for receivers and play calls might be a little different. But really the month of December, you start to see trends kind of emerge. And that's kind of what I'll be looking at in terms of trying to find value in the betting market. I think we're looking more at the month of December as what teams really are.
Question from Lewis Creech. He said, will any players be rested prior to the Olympic break, similar to week 18 in the NFL?
I don't think so, to tell you the truth.
It's hockey. We play.
That's exactly right. Like, I just think that hockey's just these guys are wired differently, clearly, right? You're wearing weapons on your feet and skating 25 miles an hour. I don't see the NHL. It's just not in the culture. I hate to blow other sports out, but yeah,
it's true.
Hockey culture is just not about resting or sitting out. You see, we've talked about this before in the playoffs last year, right? I think most teams love the fact that as soon as a team is eliminated, you just wait until their coach announces, well, this player needed surgery for the last 3 months, but he's been playing. And this player has a broken whatever for the last 3 months, but he's still playing. Yeah, I don't see players resting at all. The Olympic break is so great for the game. It's going to grow the NHL fan base and get people really excited for the playoff push, which is awesome. But I would hate to be a coach of some of these teams knowing that some of their players are going overseas to play in a tournament that doesn't benefit them.
Who are you going to be looking at in the Olympics? I know it's hard to say for sure a month out, but which teams stand out the most for when these odds potentially do come out and people could jump in early?
Yeah, well, I'll say this. First of all, there's no way the Canadians aren't favored pretty heavily in this tournament. They have so much firepower, McDavid, McKinnon, and Crosby, and everyone that you can think of offensively. The issue with the Canadians has always been in goal, and we saw that play out in the Four Nations tournament at this time last year. And Jordan Binnington, who's a goaltender from the St. Louis Blues, kind of emerged in that tournament. I think he probably makes the team again, but he's really struggled for the Blues this year. So I don't know about Canada. If you're looking for a team, I'd like to see the rosters, and the rosters for the tournaments are going to be finalized today. I'd love to see the I'd like to see the American roster first. There's been some discussions about is Jason Robertson of the Dallas Stars, is Cole Caulfield of the Montreal Canadiens, and Tage Thompson of the Buffalo Sabres. Those three in particular did not make the Four Nations face-off roster for the Americans last year. They're all great goal scorers. They should be on the American roster. But if you're looking for this to be the Canadian and USA, I think you can probably find some value. And I'll give you two teams. I'll give you Germany because they have Leon Draisaitl, and no one knows. I don't think Germany's going to win a gold medal, but they could probably surprise a lot of people. Tim Stützle is also another great German name. So not a lot of people are expecting a lot from Germany. And then a team that I really think can contend for a medal above the Canadians and Americans is Sweden. And we saw Sweden in the Four Nations tournament. They have some really great Mika Zibanejad, Adrian Kempe. They are some really great Swedish players in the league, in the NHL. And I think that they're poised. People forget about them. They won a gold medal 8 years ago in the Olympic Games. Not a lot of NHL players were playing then, but they're really a strong country that could bring it and win gold.
Colin Sellers says it's all about the Stanley Cup, not about Olympic gold. How much does that factor into? I mean, I feel like the NHL players, no matter what they play, they always play hard. Just look at what we saw last year.
Yeah, the best on best format, it really brings the best out of players. It's just so hard. Again, we talked about hockey culture and players really care, and they, just drop the puck and the competitive juices go. I will say, I think there's nothing better than playing for your country. And outside of hockey, we've seen this in other sports too, that players play for their country, and you put on those colors that represent your country, and it just brings out the more in a player. From a league employee, from a league perspective, yeah, I hope that players care a little bit more about winning the Stanley Cup. But I know players, and from my playing days, you just put on like your high school uniform and you play differently, and you play differently when you play for the shield and for the colors of something that really matters to you. And nothing should matter more than national pride, right? I just think that'll bring out more of what players.
We're going to get the Olympics in February, the World Baseball Classic in March. So we're going to have so many times to root for Team USA. For Troy, he likes Mark Stone over 1.5 points against Nashville tonight. Darren Radish over 0.5 point against Anaheim. Morgan Geeky, anytime goal scorer for Boston. Jesper Pratt for the Devils over 2.5 shots on goal. What do you guys got going on over there at NHL.com?
We're all about the year-end story. So if you log on to NHL.com/edge, you can see who led the league and some advanced statistics over the last calendar year. But we're really also gearing up towards, like you said, the Olympic Games in February. And before that, the Winter Classic on Friday between the Rangers and the Panthers. A lot of great preview stuff at NHL.com. We're looking forward to Friday. It's going to be a great event in Miami, and I know a ballpark that you're very familiar with for a Winter Classic. It's going to be a great scene.
Well, Miami is locked, loaded, ready to go for 2026. They are very busy down there. Troy Perlowitz, catch him at Troy_Pearl. Thank you as always for coming on the show. We'll see you next year.
Thanks so much for having me on. Can't wait.
Happy New Year. Troy's great. We'll get him on definitely to talk more about the Olympics as it gets closer. I want to talk about some college football real quick, and then I'll dive into Raheem's coming on in 5 minutes, and we'll talk NBA. But I screenshotted from John Ewing over at BetMGM, and we'll get Sammy P's thoughts on this in about 15 minutes. If you guys are into, actually, you know what? I'll run it. The most bet on sides and props of the day over at BetMGM. It's propaganda. Shout out John Ewing over at BetMGM for always telling us where the public money is. College football quarterfinal bets. Bama, the most bet on side at 2-1 money line. Then you've got Georgia laying 6.5, Ohio State money line. And remember, a lot of these are in parlays too. Ohio State minus 9.5, Georgia minus 250, Ohio State, Miami over, and Texas Tech, Oregon under are some of the most bet on sides of the college football playoff quarterfinal, according to BetMGM. I'm assuming people are parlaying like Ohio State and Georgia. I know that my good friend who went to Ohio State wants Ohio State and Georgia to face off. I think that's the Fiesta Bowl. So, I mean, it would be two great fan bases going head to head. I'm sure that people are putting these crazy moneyline parlays in there, or betting these crazy moneyline parlays. Sorry, we just got breaking news. Ian Rappaport saying Colts coach Shane Steichen makes it official. Riley Leonard is going to start week 18. Phillip Rivers steps aside after the comeback. Crazy. Also, NBA news, Miles Bridges has been ruled out for the Charlotte Hornets. That game is starting in an hour and a half. They're playing the Golden State Warriors. Joe Dollar says Indiana and UGA money line. Whoo! I know, even Kelly in Vegas, and don't tell her I told you this. Kelly in Vegas said in our group chat today, she doesn't tease college football. It's against everything in her power and being. But Indiana, she said, looked teasable. And I don't know the exact rules to teasing college football, like bowls and postseason playoff rules, but I know that she has this stiff rule that she will not tease college football lines, because it's true. The key numbers in college football just aren't the same, because blowouts actually can really happen, whereas not so much in the NFL per se, like 40-50. But yeah, Kelly even said, she goes, I don't know, Indiana looks kind of teasable today. So if you guys don't mind teasing college football, you can do it. Most bet on player props at BetMGM for college football playoff. Jeremiah Smith over receiving yards. Julian Sayin over passing yards. Dante Moore over passing yards. Carnell Tate over receiving yards. Carson Beck over passing yards. So again, if you like to fade the public, then you fade these. If you think the public's right, then go ahead, or you could stay away if you don't like to be on the side that everybody else is on. Some of the most bet on players to score an anytime touchdown. Carnell Tate from OSU. Mark Fletcher from Miami, Jeremiah Smith from Ohio State, Elijah Sarr from Indy, and Malachi Toney from Miami. So those are the most bet on player props for the college football playoff quarterfinal if you are able to bet player props. And just in case anybody missed it before I get Raheem on the show, we do have, where are you? The NFL Week 18 cheat sheet is up on the PropQueen.com newsletter. This is not picks. It's literally just putting you all in one place. It's free. You just have to be a subscriber to the PropQueen.com newsletter for free. You could pay too for the newsletter. But if you want to just be a free subscriber, you head over to the PropQueen.com, click newsletter, and you'll see this on the main page. And the NFL Week 18 cheat sheet, if you haven't seen it already, is telling you in one place what's on the line in every game, whether there is anything on the line. Tells you about playoff positioning, seeding positioning, draft positioning, because we know some teams might want to lose, like the Las Vegas Raiders. It also tells you the contract incentives of those games. So this way you don't have to keep hopping around the internet looking for what matters, why, and who needs to do something for their contract to make 7-8 figures. It's all there on the NFL Week 18 cheat sheet. So make sure to go to thepropqueen.com, click newsletter, and you'll be able to get the cheat sheet, download it as a PDF. Super helpful for being able to look at Week 18, which is just an absolute beast. Week 18 is such a pain in the ass. You guys already know there's one prop in Week 18 that I'm going to wait. I'm waiting for it to be posted. Marquise Hollywood Brown. He was 4-1 when it was Gardner Minshew under center, and then, of course, he tore his ACL and got hurt. Last week, Hollywood was 9-1 to score a touchdown. Hollywood is going to make $750,000 if he scores a touchdown this week. You don't think Hollywood wants to make $750K? He does. And against Vegas, why the hell would they care? The Raiders want to lose. The Raiders lose, they get the first round pick. The first pick in the draft in the first round. And then I think it's the Giants. Of course, the Giants continue to find ways to lose the first pick in the draft. Or the Jets. Ugh. Two teams that are just terrible. New York is just miserable right now. Hopefully we get the 7. I know. But I feel like we got screwed, Lewis, in the last play of the game last week. Because the last play of the game last week, they threw to Hollywood in the end zone, and he didn't catch it. Raheem, by the way, I can't see you. Your camera's off. I don't know if you're trying to get in, but your camera's off. Let's see if Raheem's here. Your camera is off. We got to talk NBA with my guy Raheem. Oh, there he is. He's coming in. I see him in the... Oladukin had 66 passing yards last week, which is the 66 for your favorite yard. The one that missed Hollywood. If only that play didn't go right over his head. Raheem, thumbs up. Are you ready? You hear me? You ready? I don't know if he hears me. Nope, he's still setting up. Raheem, good to go? Yeah? No? Yeah? No? Let me see. I'm going to bring Raheem Palmer on from Ringer. You ready? You good?
Yeah, I'm ready. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I hear you great. I just couldn't hear you in like the green room, but
Okay.
I hear you now that you're on the screen. Can you lift the camera up a little?
Okay.
If you guys don't know, Raheem and I do a show every Thursday, and since
that was too high.
No, it's not, because you're in this box. Do you see the box? There you go. Okay, that's fine.
All
So,
right.
look at you. First of all, Raheem said you got a spa day and your hair is all pulled back. Wow, he's getting ready for New Year's. I mean, I had to have you on the show today because we're not going to have a show tomorrow on The Ringer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I straight got a whole new. I'm still like doing the living room over. I got a whole new furniture set. I got like everything is like brand new. I'm just still doing it over.
Wow. Everything's great out in Vegas, I guess. I mean, I'm kind of jealous. Vegas at New Year's seems pretty cool. We've got a huge NBA slate though, so it's really early in Vegas. Thank you for coming on, by the way, so early. The Knicks. I was just talking about New York and how the New York football teams are terrible, but the Knicks are facing off with the Cavs, and I just feel like these games are always
the Spurs.
Or sorry, the Spurs. Sorry, the Spurs today. You actually wrote. Never mind. I read it wrong. Spurs. And I was looking at some of the stats, like Jalen Brunson, for example. His numbers haven't been that great against the Spurs, honestly, throughout the last 4 games that he's faced them. How do you see this game playing out between the Spurs and the Spurs and the Knicks?
All right, so I like the Spurs on the money line here. I think the biggest thing is like when you look at this Knicks team, right? These two teams obviously played in the championship on the bubble. If you watch that game, the Knicks had a 45% offensive rebound rate. And one of the strengths of this Knicks team is that they like to generate offensive rebounds and they like to score off of those offensive rebounds. Well, guess who's out? You got Mitchell Robinson and Josh Hart.
Shocker.
Game. So if those two guys are missing, that kind of changes the entire calculus of this game. And I look at the Spurs and the Knicks, you watch that game, the Spurs were winning for a large portion of that game. So I just think this is a spot where I like to play these revenge spots. I think in the NBA regular season, there's not a lot of things that you can find yourself getting yourself motivated for. So I think this is a spot where, you know, without Mitchell Robinson, without Josh Hart, I like the Spurs to get some revenge. Now, Stephon Castle, obviously, he is, you know, a little banged up. He is questionable for this matchup. But I think there's a reason why you're looking at the Spurs as 2.5-point favorites here, consensus all across the board. Our partners at FanDuel, you can get that at -2. But there's some 2.5s all across the board. But I like the money line. You can lay the -2. I think the Spurs get their revenge here.
Speaking of motivation, I saw a couple of days ago Mr. Draymond Green going on a podcast saying, we don't want to play on the holidays. We want to make memories with our families. We hate playing Christmas. We don't like playing New Year's, blah, 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 blah. That makes me annoyed about this 1:00 game between the Warriors and the Hornets. I wanted to like Draymond today because the center for the Hornets is out. Yeah, I'm like, okay, Draymond, do you give a crap to play? Like, do you even look at what Draymond says when handicapping these holiday games?
Oh, not at all. I think the biggest thing is, I mean, he said he was speaking as a human. I think there's nobody who ultimately wants to work on these holidays. And we've all been through them. Now, it comes off a little tone deaf because obviously we know that these guys are making millions of dollars. Obviously, we know that these guys are, you know, they can fly their families out to them. I mean, there's people who, like, I live out here in Vegas. There were people serving me all day on Christmas for, you know, who knows what they were making, but they were serving me all day on Christmas. I'm sure they wanted to be with their families too. So it's a little tone deaf. And I think you kind of just, sometimes when you're privileged, you're blessed to, you know, be in the NBA and make more money than most people. I think you kind of just got to shut up. It's unfortunate, but you got to kind of keep that to yourself. Say it to your therapist, say it to your friends and family, but don't say that publicly.
No, I agree. I was so annoyed when he said it. I'm like, Draymond, come on, bro. People would play on a holiday if they were making millions of dollars too. But I guess they just don't realize. But we try to make millions of dollars by gambling. And as I was saying before, the Cavs are also playing today. Hefty number at 6.5 to lay at home against the Suns. Cavs are getting back to full strength with the trees getting healthier and Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. How much do you see the Cavs being a decent side, or is it too many points?
Oh, it's so funny. You asked me about Draymond because I actually like the under in that matchup, the under 234. But let's go to like Cavs let's go to Cavs Suns. For that game, I also like the under 235. So my model puts this at 228. And, obviously I think the biggest thing is you're looking at two solid offenses. The Suns are 10th and the Cavs are 11th. But, my model makes this 228. I just think this total is a little bit too high. You got Grayson Allen out, you got Ryan Dunn out. But I think ultimately, this is a market. And I think we always have to remember that. Like when this is a market, eventually, the things are kind of priced in. So this line opened at 238. You're now seeing 234s in the market. You can get a 235.5 at FanDuel, and it's juiced to the under -115. And I think that says a lot. So I think FanDuel's kind of taking a position on the over in this. They're taking a position on the under, kind of trying to draw on some of that over money. But I like the under in this matchup.
Two teams that run at completely different paces. The Indiana Pacers are facing the Orlando Magic. Magic are slow, still no Franz Wagner. On the Indiana side, that team's just an absolute mess, and defensively, they suck. How do you see this game panning out?
Over.
Really? Even with the Orlando Magic being the Magic?
It's all about the Indiana Pacers. I think when you look at the Indiana Pacers here, you're just looking at it like, look at this team. Like, I know that they're only 13-20 to the over this season, but if you look at what is it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 straight overs. So I think that says it all. And excuse me, I'm looking at the wrong results. Excuse me, it's 3 straight overs. They play 119, 126 against the Rockets. You play 116, 142 against the Miami Heat. You give up 140 against the Boston Celtics. So it's pretty clear that this team can't defend right now. So when it comes to these totals, I'm very big on recent trends. I think that is the biggest thing that kind of matters. I mean, you're looking at, for the season, this team is 23rd in defensive rating. So they don't have the best offense, but I mean, I think a lot of that was injuries. So I'm trusting the recent trends on this. I'm looking at a Pacers team that just does not slow down. And if you're not going to slow down and you can't defend, so I think that's just an over. It's just a dead nuts over. And if you look at the market, this got pounded from 225 to 227. I'm at like 230. So I still think there's an edge, even though this is moved.
Speaking of movement, we are going to see the Charlotte Hornets without Miles Bridges today. It was just announced that Bridges is going to be out for this game. Kind of knew an hour ago when he was downgraded to doubtful. You said you like the under. That should help the under a bit between the Warriors and the Hornets coming up at 1 p.m. Eastern.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think the biggest thing is you look at the Warriors. They're on the third game in 4 nights. And I think you got to remember that this is, their core starters. They're pretty old. Like, this is not, none of these guys are spring chickens. Draymond Green, Steph Curry. So, along with the 3 games in 4 nights, I just think this is a good spot to play the under. And, I mean, the Warriors are coming off of a game against the Brooklyn Nets, 120, 107. They also played an overtime game against the Raptors. So I think you combine those two facts, and I think you get an under here. So
that kind of makes me like my Draymond Green rebounds plus assist prop more.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
I was debating because of his whole I don't want to play on the holiday spiel. I thought maybe he's not going to be aggressive on the boards today because he just wants to go home.
I can definitely see that. And here's the interesting thing about this game. You look at the Warriors, they're 22nd in offensive rating. You look at the Hornets, they're 16th in offensive rating, and then they're missing Miles. And then if you look at the half court, the Warriors are 19th in offensive rating in the half court. The Hornets are 20th. So I don't think you have 2 good offenses at all. So I'm looking at this as a spot to where, things should be able to slow down. And then also, if you look at the pace, Hornets are 22nd in pace, and the Warriors are 18th in pace. So I think at 234, this is just a tad bit too high. I think this should be closer to 228 or so. So that's why.
Yeah, I agree with you. I saw that number and I thought it was pretty high as well, especially for a Golden State team that is very good defensively. They're allowing the 6th least points per game in the game, and no Miles Bridges tonight for the Hornets. Raheem Palmer, are you on air this weekend, or are you taking the whole weekend off?
So I'm on air on Sunday. I just won the Wise Wager Championship for our Sunday NFL pregame show. I'm like 12-4-1 on Wise Wagers this year, so I've been crushing those.
Yeah, unlike our stupid Ringer 107s that
the Ringer 107 thing is just so frustrating because I tell you this all the time. If you went solo, I went solo, JJ went solo, and everybody went solo, we all would have better records because how many times have I talked you off winners? You know what I mean? Like, just because it's just we all see the game differently, all have a different approach. So it's all in fun, but we're definitely hurting each other's records.
It's not an indication of the winners we individually have. Raheem Palmer, thank you so much for coming on. Finally got you here on the Prop Queen Pod. I will see you next week on the Ringer Gambling Show.
No doubt. Thanks for having me. Also, if you guys have FanDuel Sports Network, I'm going to be on there on Friday, so check me out.
Check him out, Raheem Palmer. Good luck and Happy New Year.
You too.
Coming on now, for anyone that doesn't know this, there is one person responsible for me being friends with Kelly in Vegas. I don't know if it's a good or a bad thing for you guys, for me. Sometimes it feels terrible. Sometimes it feels great. This next guest is responsible for the chaos. Sam Panayotovich, don't get me canceled today. It is the end of 2025. Happy almost New Year.
Happy almost New Year. I will not be on TV Friday. I'll be driving back to Boston from Chicago.
Why do you drive? Dead. Why don't you fly?
Because I'm here for like 15 days and I don't want to do the $100 a day for the rent-a-car because I'm zipping all over town.
How far is that drive?
15 hours. Stop in Buffalo halfway.
No.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, well, I have no interest in that long drive. I would be flying first class. We got to make money today. College football bowl games, college football playoffs. Do you like any of these bowl games or do you not care as much now that we have the playoff?
Yeah, I'm on Indiana. On Bear Bets, we talked about it last week. Bear was sailing around the world. Turks and Caicos. Jeff and I were doing the show. And the number was 6.5 at that point. Now it's 7. I think it's going to maybe creep up a little bit more. I see a couple offshores at 7.5. This feels like by the time we get to game day tomorrow, you're going to have a lot of people log into their apps. You know, a lot of the bets are game day for the most part. And they're going to go, oh, I get 7 with Alabama. You know, like that just feels like that's going to happen tomorrow. But the ticket counts are pretty split so far. You know, a lot of Vegas bookmakers are saying that wise guys are laying 6.5 and then taking back 7, which is the definition of a great number. You're getting money on both sides. But I do like Indiana. I think they're a complete team, better O-line, better D-line. Now, if Ty Simpson plays like a first-round pick at quarterback for Bama, they can win the game. I mean, it's silly to think that Alabama can't beat Indiana, but if you play this game 100 times, I think Indiana wins about 70 of them.
Ooh, you know what's crazy? Our girl Kelly said this morning she doesn't tease college football, but Indiana looks teasable.
Yeah, I don't tease. But I'm about to tease. That's what Kelly does.
I might do it and not tell anyone I did it. Oh my God, that's great. We do have a game tonight. This game is so fishy to me for this college football quarterfinal. Miami, Ohio State. I feel like they're just telling everyone, yeah, Miami played great. Come take the points, plus 9.5 against Ohio State. It tells me that Ohio State should blow them out if this is 9.5. What do you think?
They could. I liked last year's offense a little bit better because of the mobility at quarterback that they had with Will Howard. Julian Sayin just doesn't move. And that doesn't mean that Ohio State can't score because he's a very accurate quarterback. He's got multiple NFL receivers, too, at his disposal, and that's dangerous. I think the big key in this game is the Ohio State D-line against Carson Beck. If they can throw him off his game, they could kill him, no doubt. And you know, I was the guy who bet Carson Beck to win the Heisman before the season. He was one of the front runners early, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's Carson Beck. Got it. So if you get a bad Carson Beck game, Miami might score 7 points. You know, this could be very similar to that first game we saw, ironically enough, when Ohio State played Texas and nobody could score. It was a defensive rock fight, and we've seen the movement on this game. You know, this total opened about 42, and now we're at 40.5 at multiple places. So the public's on the over, because it's a low number. Wise guys are on the under. And, you know, this is going to be a public side, Ariel, no doubt. Mm-hmm. Ohio State's going to be a public side. Mm-hmm. You're also going to see Ohio State in plenty of parlays. And as our friend John Murray says, in plenty of money line parlays. Mm-hmm. So the big bet right now in Vegas, not the big bet, but the most popular bet is a 3-team wheel. Ohio State to win, Indiana to win, Georgia to win. Murray says we need one of those favorites to lose.
Okay. I mean, it makes sense. And that's what I was saying earlier when I saw in our propaganda segment, most bet on sides props of the day. John Murray always says it's not because you see on the most bet on sides that it's, oh, someone bet minus 300 on this heavy favorite. It's all the money line parlays. And I feel like between Ohio State, Indiana, Georgia, those are going to be the teams that everyone's parlaying, no?
Yeah, and the last one will be the most important one. I don't have the schedule in front of me. I think Georgia Ole Miss is the last game. So assuming Ohio State just wins outright tonight and then Indiana beats Alabama, all the parlays are going to roll to that last game. And then what you'll see is the books in Vegas and across the country shade the favorite because they're just desperate at that point. If the two money line favorites come in before, they're going to be desperate to write money on Ole Miss. So you might get Ole Miss at +7 or +7.5 because books are just desperate for any Ole Miss money to alleviate all the rollover money on that Georgia money line. But look, I mean, it's never this easy, usually. I mean, you've been doing this a long time. It's not easy to take the three biggest favorites and parlay them together. Sometimes it wins, but more times than not, one of those teams slips up.
Yeah, and that's why betting underdogs is fun. Is there an underdog that you do think could get an outright win in this college football quarter?
I'm hopeful for Texas Tech. That game is tomorrow early, 12 Eastern, 11 Central. I say Central because I'm in the Central. I have to remind myself. If I say it enough out loud, I'll remember.
He said, what time? So if we're on at 11:40 a.m. Eastern time, what is that in Chicago?
That's 10:40 Central, 11:40 Mamdani time. I had to do the math last night. We were trying to text each other.
Don't get me canceled.
Yeah, I mean, what? I can't say Mamdani time anymore. Jesus. I like Tech, but I'll be completely honest. I haven't added more. I'm using my elbow as a tripod because my computer's dead. So please forgive.
Great. Professional.
Yes, very professional. I'm on vacation in Central Time Zone. I have Texas Tech to win the title. I made that bet before the Big Ten championship. And at that time, it looked like Tech was going to play Ohio State. That number was 12-1. After Indiana beat Ohio State, it pushed the Buckeyes to the other part of the bracket. So the price has come down a bit on Tech, which I like. But I'll be honest with you, I've seen the wise guys bet Oregon and Oregon money line for the last 5 days. You know, this number was 1.5, and now we're out to 2.5. And I'm like, oh God, you know, this is it. Like, I'm going to lose my future first game for the Red Raiders. I like their team. I think offense and defense wise, you know, they're very special. The big concern for anybody betting Tech is that they've had some red zone issues on offense. They get to the 20, they get to the 10, and then they just haven't been as efficient as you would like. But if they get hot in the playoffs, they have a team that's talented enough to make a run. So I lean to Tech, but I did not add any more Tech money into the kitty because I already have them at 12-1 to win the title.
Who would you tell people who are listening right now if there is a future to place, if any at all? Who is it?
That's a good question. You know, I was going to say Georgia. If we would have done this show yesterday, I would have said Georgia because I like their path a ton. I mean, they're going to beat Ole Miss, or at least they should. And then they have the running game and the quarterback, I think, to get to the final. Then I had a bookmaker, Tony Miller in Vegas, tell me that all of his rec players are taking Georgia to win the title. And I'm like, well, that's a bad idea. When every bartender goes up to the counter and says, Georgia, that's not good. I don't want to give you the favorites. There's a bet, though. Let me give you this bet because I'm still on Tech. I like Tech. If you want to bet 8-9-1, fine. I still would take the field against Ohio State or Indiana. There are a couple books that are throwing that out. You know, it's basically a coin flip. The juice could be, you know, on either side depending on the book. But I would rather take the other teams than take Ohio State and Indiana. I do think it's going to be a non-Big Ten team. I guess if Oregon wins, I'd win too. But Oregon's a Pac-12 team. We all know that.
That's true. Yeah, we don't consider them the Big Ten just yet. You're very close with John Murray, and you know a lot out there in Vegas from all these different sports books, odds makers. Who do they need to win this round?
So they would love if Texas Tech could win. They would. Just from an outright standpoint, like there's a lot of money on Oregon, and people tend to get more involved in games that are sub-7. You know, like a 7-point spread is fun, but it's easier to pick a game when it's 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, because there's a lot more of a cushion there. There's been a ton of money in Vegas on Oregon. So they would, I think, number one, they would like that team to get knocked out. And there's also a lot of duck liability in the future market because you could have bet Oregon, 10-1, 12-1 a month ago. And now that number is going to be much lower because, that's just the way it works. You only have 8 teams left. So I think an Oregon loss would be good for the house. It would be bad for my friend Jeff Schwartz. I don't know what he would wear to Bear Bets next week if Oregon got knocked out. But I also think, look, I think there's a world where they would love Miami to win. I was looking at some bet splits this morning. BetMGM has Ohio State, number 1 money line bet, number 1 side bet. There's a lot of future money on Ohio State, of course. And I think if the Buckeyes go down to Miami, that'd be a great result for the house. But as I say that out loud, I don't believe it,
Yeah, especially, again, that 9.5 really seems a little fishy to me after Miami pulling the win last week. And people were, I knew they were a little bit, people liked them as a dog, but more of my smart people knew that they liked Miami as a dog last week. I know the rest versus rust is also a storyline. Rest versus rust for the teams that may not have played versus the teams that played last week. Do you care?
I do. We did see all the rusted teams beat the rested teams last year in this round. 1, 2, 3, and 4 all lost. Now that's not a big sample size; it's only 4 games, but I think there's something to be said about rhythm and teams sort of playing well and then stopping. I don't think that's great. It is a very unique format, and then of course after the quarterfinals, we wait another 10 days to play the semifinals. It's just such a crazy schedule.
They have to protect these college players. They're worth a lot of money, Sammy.
Yeah, just ask Lane Kiffin. He really protected his players at Ole Miss when he left the playoff team to go to a non-playoff team. The schedule is so crazy, and then you got guys that are trying to recruit other players, and it's like the playoff is still going on. To answer your question, though, I did look at a lot of the dogs, and I can't bet Bama because I think they're going to get throttled. I'm not going to do anything Ohio State, Miami. I think you make a good point, though, about, Miami just won, 10-3 or whatever, and now they're getting almost 10. It looks very easy. But no, I didn't really, I guess, long story short, I did not really weigh the rest versus rust. I go off power ratings and numbers and try and stick to that.
Joe Dollar says, I bet Kiffin never makes a playoff at LSU.
I would love that prop bet. The only problem is if you make that bet, you've got to wait through the whole tenure. It's like I have a buddy, like total non sequitur here, but I have a buddy who bet like that aliens would destroy the earth, and I'm like, how are you going to collect that if they do? Like what do you mean?
And what if you're dead when it happens? That's what I'm saying.
Like if the aliens do,
does it get passed down into like a trust?
We're not going to. Well, the whole thing would be wiped. So. The only way he wins that bet is if the answer is no, but I think it was like by 2050 or something. So you got to wait 25 years to cash an alien bet. That's not my style. I don't know why I brought that up.
How much juice do you lay on the no?
The no, I think the no was minus 3,000 or something. Yeah.
I feel like Kelly would bet that.
Yeah. Well, you got to bet the yes. I'm not laying minus 3,000. Like that's not happening.
Oh my gosh. Sammy P, you're the best. Thank you for taking the time from your vacation in Chicago. No one vacations in Chicago. It's not a vacation. It's a trip to see your family. It's not a vacation.
That's one way to look at it. You're right. All right. Prop Queen.
Chicken dinner. Chicken dinner. Where can people find chicken dinner?
Yeah, find us on YouTube. Joe and I are back together. We're doing the show. YouTube is number 1, as you have learned over the last year or so. And then Apple, Spotify, but get the YouTube. Download the YouTube. Subscribe to the YouTube.
Subscribe to the YouTube page at Chicken Dinner. Sammy P, you are the best. Enjoy your new year, and hopefully we have a profitable 2026.
Hopefully we do. Thanks, Queen.
Yeah. Oh, Sammy, you're the best. I've got some prop queen edges for the early slate of games in the NBA. I didn't get to the night slate yet. So Charlotte's small forward Miles Bridges was downgraded to out. He hasn't actually missed a game this year, but I'll tell you a stat. LaMelo Ball, in his last 20 games without Miles Bridges, has gone over 20.5 points in 12 straight games. He's averaging just under 29 points a game. He's also averaging, LaMelo, just under 6 rebounds per game in those spots and just over 8 assists. LaMelo's points perhaps 20.5. Rebounds is 4.5. Assists is 7.5. The only difference is Con Knippel, who is available to play despite an ankle injury. Of course, Knippel's a rookie. He wasn't on the team last year. You could see LaMelo, though, putting up points. And again, Raheem Palmer did say he liked the over in this game. No, actually, he said he liked the under in this game. Never mind. But this total's high at 233.5. So I could see LaMelo Ball going off tonight, even though it is a Warriors team who's allowed the 6th least points per game. But the Warriors have played a lot of games recently. I think, what did we say, like 3 games, 4 days, something like that? Maybe they're tired. And also, Draymond Green said he doesn't want to play. So we're going to go LaMelo Ball at home in Charlotte, going up against the Warriors tonight, or today, 1 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Steph Curry's also gone over 4.5 assists in like every game he's faced the Hornets, so you could look to that as well. Draymond over rebounds plus assists stood out to me. Charlotte's allowing the 4th most assists per game, and they actually allowed the most assists per game to centers and power forwards, their bigs. So if the Hornets are allowing a lot of assists to bigs, I could expect Draymond, especially with the center for the Hornets being out, I would expect Draymond Green to have a field day on the boards today and also be able to dish the ball out to his guys like Steph Curry. Minnesota, Atlanta, 3 p.m. Eastern time. Trae Young's questionable with a quad injury, but we're going to pretend that he's playing. Atlanta's point guard, under 9.5 assists. Against teams that are top 10 in assists allowed, a.k.a. limiting teams to assists per game, Trae Young's averaging just under 8 assists per game in those spots. He's averaging 7 assists per game against Minnesota. He's gone under this in all 3 games with 8, 7, and 7 assists. Minnesota, 7th least assists per game. Minnesota's power forward Julius Randle has a really good matchup. I would look to his over rebounds or over rebounds plus assists against teams bottom 10 in rebounds allowed, 10 games, averaging 22 points, 8 rebounds, just under 8 rebounds, just under 6 assists. On the road, Randall's averaging 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 6.5 assists. So you could look to that. He's averaging a rebound more per game on the road. 67% of games went over 6.5 rebounds on the road this year for Randall. Atlanta, 6th most rebounds per game allowed, 6th most assists per game allowed. And power forwards, 65% of them have gone over their rebound plus assist prop against Atlanta. The last game I've got for you, Orlando and Indiana. Indiana's shooting guard, Andrew Nembhard, under 6.5 assists. He's actually gone under this in 8 of 12 home games this year, averaging just under 5 assists per game against Orlando, going under 6.5 in 3 of 4. The Magic, 6th least assists per game allowed. 45% of shooting guards have only 45% went over their assist prop against Orlando this year, and only 40% have gone over their assist prop in the last 10. So those are some of the games that I was looking at for the early slate for props. We've got New Orleans and Chicago, the Knicks and the Spurs, Denver, Toronto, Washington, Milwaukee, Portland, OKC. I'll stay away from. That's a 15.5 point spread. I am curious, though, the updates on Nikola Jokic, because he hyperextended his knee. And I know that they said that that's all he did. It wasn't as scary of an injury as they thought it would be, like an ACL. But I assume he's not going to play today. It says his ligaments are intact, hyperextended his last knee, will miss at least 4 weeks. Ooh, the left knee. So Jokic is out. I'm going to use props.cash today after the show to see how players do without Nikola Jokic. So that's a great way to use props.cash. And you can go to the YouTube page over at Prop Queen Media and see exactly how to use props.cash. It's really good for NBA injuries. Super helpful in the NBA. It is noon Eastern time, so I'm going to head out. I have to post all this stuff to YouTube. If you missed anything, it'll be on the YouTube channel at Prop Queen Media. You can see all the guest segments. We had Troy Perlowitz talking NHL, Raheem Palmer did NBA, and Sam Panayotovich talk college football playoff. Tune in there. I will see you guys on Friday, 5 p.m. Eastern time, normal time on the Prop Queen Pod. Happy New Year, everybody.